Think something sticky clung to your vibes? Let's shake it off. Okay, quick 3-step cleanse to remove entity attachments and energy reversals. Step 1. Ground. Stand barefoot, or imagine roots growing into the earth. Inhale calm. Exhale tension. Feel anchored. You're not a balloon. Step 2. Boundary and intent. Visualize a bright shield surrounding you. Say out loud, "Only light serves me." That intention flips reversals back to sender. Step 3. Release and reset. Use a cleansing element. Sage, sound, or a brisk shower. Imagine the unwanted energy dissolving and draining away. Finish by filling yourself with fresh light and gratitude. Quick, simple, effective. Try it daily or after intense interactions. Want a guided version? Hit follow and I'll narrate one.
Our founder claims this right here is an embodied form of the violet ray spectrum. Tap in and tune in Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Grand Rising with ChristoLight, your sacred space for discovering the Ascended Masters in crystal healing. Ashe. Grand day, grand rising. Welcome to a fresh new episode of Grand Rising with ChristoLight. I am Marcus ChristoLight of Sacred Light Healing and Wellness. I am your host of this journey, and I just want to thank you all for being a part of this series, helping me uncover, discover, and activate these different aspects of our universal consciousness that we are a part of. It's been a phenomenal series. We have dived into the universal time matrix as a whole, what it looks like, the antiparticle, the shadow realm, as well as the particle realm. We've talked about the different dimensional rays of light that represent the different dimensions. And along with that, we talked about archangels, ascended masters, and different guides that complement each divine ray of light that you may connect with in your human journey. Along with that, we've also touched on different factions, different groups, such as the Negative Agenda, the Black Sun Program, the Galactic Federation, and much more. So lately, we've been journeying into more of the micro details of what are the operations mechanics that make up this time matrix that we are part of. So we had been going over timelines, the astral planes, the Akashic records, and now we are going to be talking about entity attachments and energy reversals and how to remove those from our energy fields through our own self-empowerment or through others, of course. And this is going to give you a really good clarity on what to look for, how to know if there is an attachment or reversal in your energy, and how to address it consciously. So it's going to be a very powerful episode when it comes to the information that you guys are going to be receiving. And I really look forward to delivering and giving you guys the opportunity to learn about this in depth. So let's go ahead and take a rewind back to last week, or not last week, on Tuesday. So we didn't have an episode yesterday. We were going to be talking about Kundalini, but instead we're going to have that episode on Tuesday of next week. But our last episode from 2 days ago on this Tuesday, let's go ahead and take a recap.
In what's known as the Akashic Records, think of it as the universe's ultimate library, containing the energetic imprint of every soul's journey throughout time. These records hold
It's a quick reference term used to define the universal matrix of cellular memory that has contained within it the recorded event of every possible experience and permutation of consciousness existing within our 15-dimensional universal time matrix. Many times, other healers refer to this term as a part of clearing the soul record memory in the Akasha. Field of memory in the Akashic record is through transmissions via encoded light language. That's cool. That's our first reference to light language here in the Ascension Glossary. And the light language I actually shared when we opened up.
You guys, if you know me, you know 1111 is one of my absolute favorite portals. I think it's between 8/8 and 11/11. Almost any year you can find me meditating. You can find me downloading the codes. This November 11th is very special because, as you remember from my past videos, we are finishing a 9-year numerological cycle.
But
that means
the Emerald Covenant, number 1, the first God world creation founder race, the Emerald Order, the Amethyst Order, and the Gold Order, which represents the threefold flame. Unify the Earth race lines through spiritual healing and freedom to enter the intergalactic worlds federation, the 7-dimensional center, and the corresponding 9 o'clock position anchors into the 6-dimensional center of the personal 12-tree grid. When the process for embodying the entire 12 Templar Rushi of the cosmic...
Many religions reference a posthumous life review upon entering the afterlife, where a book of life, or similar notion, is used to judge and weigh the merits of one's existence. Yet, is the idea of an Akashic library a literal, physical place, or a metaphorical myth used to explain a complex idea?
It's been referred to as the Hall of Records, the Library of Light, the Mind of God.
Okay, how to access the Akashic Records, technique number 3, use lucid dreaming. Now, while this technique requires more practice than the other two, it's an extremely powerful method of receiving information from the records.
If you may, go ahead and take a couple of deep breaths into the core of your center. One more. All right. So let's a card for out of the Beyond Area Oracle deck. All right. See what we got from the Beyond Area Oracle. All right. Not sure what's going on with the but we shall continue. All right. So our collective card for today, it is going to be number 43, She of the Lotus. Go ahead and read this out of the book for you guys. Number 43. So this represents shadow work, addressing dissonance, seeing downloads as the flip side of superpowers, loving yourself back to wholeness, the beautiful lotus that grows from murky waters, disempowering triggers, bringing light into your dark corners. So it says here, self-love is a catalyst for transformation. Alchemizing painful triggers is of ourselves. As the dense spaces begin to evaporate, we can be filled with more light, more love, and we create an upward healing spiral. I have practices to implement on a day-to-day basis. When we merge this awareness with moment-to-moment consciousness, densities don't even get a chance to form. We can then live and love even bigger. And this is true freedom, self-empowerment, and where authentic love and light can radiate. A true light bringer shines light in all the corners, so shadows can be acknowledged and released. The divinatory meaning. Take a look at any unconscious patterns that may be running you. Are there elements of yourself you need to take out of the trash, dust off, and reabsorb? Shadows can be painful or tender to the touch. Sensitivity in an area can be a trigger that shows us where we might want to spring clean some of our darkened, forgotten, ignored, or hidden corners. Accepting our shadow is the first stage in restoring ourselves to wholeness and self-love. Peel back the layers where there's shame, guilt, and fear, and bring them into the daylight under a loving and compassionate light. They will resolve and reassimilate so you can rearrange with your superpowers. Beautiful. So that is She of the Lotus. Facing our shadow work, alchemizing our shadow work, so that we may accelerate our frequency and release the density that is causing patterns of unconscious behaviors and ways. Beautiful. Shadow work, shadow work. And that goes really well with our theme for today, which is entity and energy reversal removal. Part of shadow work is acknowledging where you are accountable for the entities and energies that are in your field, and how you're attracting them through the shadow work. Alrighty. Right. Uh, Looks like we're just going to have to be a little patient today, internet. Okay. Mhm.
As you can see, we are still in process of conducting a peaceful protest here out in these distant waters far from the coast, where we believe that oil extraction needs to be stopped.
All right.
Consider that your drilling operation is not safe. It's not safe for the planet. We have a message for you
Elementals,
from the people, thousands
dead energy,
of people feel the
fragments,
same way.
demonic thought
Stand your
forms,
ground.
ancestors,
Protest
etheric weapons,
operation
geopathic stressors,
drilling for more
curry
oil
lines,
at a time when
or
the
static
earth
energy
is
fields,
ignored.
just plain bad energy. Deposit it into the landmass, in houses, places of worship, or any other space a person walks around on the ground. This kind of negative energy can build up in a person's aura and make one feel physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually sick. This is similar to understanding if our life force and aura are not circulating properly, we can have clogged pipes that make us feel unwell. If we have an entity attachment in our aura, it can make us feel sick, slimmed, and not ourselves. Most humans are not aware if a mass trauma happens on a landmass at any point in time, that energy is stuck there until someone cleans it up. If no one does, it lingers and attracts more negative energy. Generally, this creates an unhappy space, and a sensitive or intuitive empath may feel this energy and want to run away from it. Having clarity from within, this massive confusion requires awareness of negative patterns and their attachments, and then the focused discipline of your negative ego to clear them. It is the time to remove all attachments to the external outcome and personal results. Frustration is tormented into feeling extreme pain or suffering. The mind and soul can fracture into pieces, keeping those pieces trapped in phantom pockets that are controlled by the negative entity. This can have multiple dimensions of existence and state identity that are connected with the consciousness of that spiritual energetic being. Until layers of existence, fragmentation may continue after the consciousness has transitioned from the body. This is the primary goal of the negative agenda that attend exiting the physical body in satanic ritual abuse. The rape, torture, and killing of an animal or human is the purpose of collecting the loosh produced during the blood sacrifice event, and to bind the energy with attachments, which can be fed upon by the black hole entities. They form attachments from the negative energy they consumed to the fragments that make up the consciousness of that person. Many of these negative entities consume negative emotional energy to enable their presence in the multidimensional layers of the earth field. Because of their vibrational incompatibility with human frequency levels, they must rely on consuming loosh for their existence. The important lesson to comprehend is that expressions of negative ego and hatred, the intent to harm, and the violent killing of other living things fragments consciousness and feeds the reversals to build up negative emotional energy, or loosh. We do not want to co-create negative emotional energy to be fed upon by these negative entities, or to directly feed the inverted systems that produce loosh energy for the negative agenda. The most productive thing we can do is to take steps to clear negative ego and our pain body so that we will not be triggered by the mind control programs or AI broadcast. When we do this, we are instead capable of holding neutral and calm with God. This helps to integrate and heal our fragments to unify, as well as neutralize any negative emotional energy in the environment. When we stop feeding the energy offline, the feed line of the parasited energy throughout the food chain stops, essentially starving them by denying them access to the power source. When we can hold into negative emotional states, we are refusing to be manipulated and siphoned by the negative agenda. Additionally, true empathic and unconditionally loving humans will gain the spiritual power to recollect and transit the collective consciousness fragments of sacrificed children, traumatized people that are trapped in the earth. That we can do to help heal the earth. We consistently think the egos or the houses of ego, we are using the negative ego, which requires to consume energy from the external world and from others that we have developed attachments to. This is called the consumptive modeling of the imposter spirit and their related forces. Let's check out what that is. The consumptive modeling is the taking, dealing, superimposing, or using of another's energetic resources or life force for one's personal use, personal gain, or in the law of structure, which is enforced by the false king of tyranny or false gods. Usually this process of taking or stealing the energetic or other resources is hidden in deception, lies, and manipulation through mind control. This is the core programming of the negative agenda to enslave planet Earth and humanity through the corporatarius. Also, consumptive modeling is the consequence of the negative ego and the influence that the negative agenda has had upon downloading their predator mind to the human race since the Sumerian Egypt invasion over 5,500 years ago. This genetic damage to the planet manifested finite energy supply, defined by Pisces geometry, and its bi-wave influences. The consumptive modeling architecture was created by the false gods who devoted to mind control. The controllers still attempt to maintain their stronghold to enslave and the propaganda media outlets to incite consumption, violence, genetic modification, chemtrails in the air, oil and gas dependency, pharmaceutical drugs, lack of pure drinking water, debt enslavement, fear over our financial future, poverty, terrorism, and war are all examples. These are all controller games of consumptive modeling, of which they had a platform of control to exploit humanity over the last dark cycle to regain control over Earth. Abuse of cause and effect. From the accumulate consequence of the abuse of energy, resources, power sources on the planet are inherited by the human race upon incarnation on the planet, because the negative agenda ideology is creating a class culture of the controller, ruling classes, and the slave classes. This means the consequences of the law of cause and effect is superimposed primarily on the slave class of humans to enforce debt, slavery, and poverty consciousness. This phenomenon is passing the buck in order not to be responsible for your own personal direction of energy. It's called consumptive modeling. The entity or being takes what wants, needs, or requires from others from the planet without any regard to the consequences. From the accumulative consumptive model comes extreme levels of waste products such as miasma, planetary, and dead light. Waste product of energy is given to the slave class to transmute or carry into their light body as a consequence from the abuse of the law of cause and effect. This phenomenon is called superimposition. One's personal actions or responsibility for the consequence of the waste product manifested from abuse of the law of cause and effect by funneling it towards those they deem undesirable or may hold hatred towards the genetic race. This hatred exists toward the Christos intelligence from the negative agenda, the Antichrist, and the imposter spirits who have superimposed their karmic debris upon these beings that have the 12-strand DNA history or imprints. This has been called the redemptive vehicle of the Christ, because the crystal star was aware that since the Luciferian rebellion and the Sumerian Egypt invasion could potentially annihilate the planet and the human species, they sent many representatives as a redemptive vehicle to help the planet clear out miasma until the end of the ascension cycle. Now, at the end of the ascension cycle, the return to energetic balance through the crystal star hosting means the return to balance in the universal laws, which is available because of the neutron window opening in the galactic center. We enter a new age of rehabilitation, repair of the damaged code and architecture, and repair of the timelines to reassemble the silicate matrix and retain its DNA for the future of all humankind. So parasites. Parasites is a non-mutual symbiotic relationship between species, where one species, the parasite, benefit at the expense of the other host. Parasite can be visible organisms or macroparasites. Unlike predators, parasites do not kill their hosts and are genetically much smaller than their hosts. They will often live in or on their hosts for an extended period. They survive through consumptive modeling. Energetic parasites are a result of energy blockages in areas of the etheric body or the Ka battery body. Eventually, if energetic blockages are not cleared, the result is energetic parasites, which manifest into physical representation of infection and infestation. All outward disease patterns in the physical body are at the core causation level, a malfunction of energy flow in its blueprint, or an injurious blockage to the area of impact. This can happen physically, energetically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. And then lastly, we have self-responsibility. One is not capable to be God sovereign free until learning to be weaned off the mind control programs that have generated the negative ego, pain body belief systems. That responsibility starts with each of us accepting the responsibility for the direction of our personal energies, attention, and what we place as our priorities. That becomes our value system. In order to be responsible for every thought we have to determine where the thought form is sourcing from. If we want to accept the thought, behavior, action in relationship to its consequence, which is the law of cause and effect, there is a consequence to every thought, behavior, or action that is generated that will bear influence and impact to the individual thought, as well as the collective field of accumulated thoughts on the planet. The ES core triad, the crystal agate section, mental body tools, or supportive make this shift in the ways that we think. Beautiful. Wow. So we'll finish this page and then there will be another page, but we'll watch a video before we start the next page. So the observer point. The witness or observer has no judgment. It allows observation of external events without needing to control the outcome. By maintaining a neutral one, can release attachments. Once Once a states of observation without judgment are easily held in one's consciousness, the being will choose its continued evolution through the choices it makes in accordance to the law of compassion. Either one develops their higher mental bodies, which are a function of the higher intelligence of the soul, and monadic bodies, or synthesizes these mental intelligence through their open and loving heart. Compassionate practices opens the closed heart chakra and is complex. Higher knowledge without practicing compassion produces a Luciferian entity. Without compassion, a being cannot develop any further in consciousness and will expand horizontally rather than vertically. And what it means by produce a Luciferian entity means you'll basically be blinded by the light. So you'll be so far into your spiritual light that you will be ungrounded and unanchored to your heart, which will help you be able to feel compassion and connection to all of life, including the light and the dark, as wholeness and one. So consciousness traps. There are also spaces that are used as soul traps or consciousness traps, which are used to keep a person's consciousness stuck like a hamster on a wheel, going in circles, not moving anywhere. This is why discernment and comprehension of how consciousness works and placing your value and attention on developing personal consciousness is so important. False white light and consciousness traps are like machinery. They are not fully sentient. Instead, they are replicants or artificial intelligence, which may be cognized when one has developed sensory ability and feeling through heart consciousness. When one has a connection with the 12D shield in the heart and spirits of Christ, you will feel the harshness of non-sentient or alien matrices immediately. They feel machined, artificial, metal-like, sharp. They feel or sound tinny, like an aluminum foil. When one is active in the pursuit and dedication of expanding one's consciousness, and knowing these consciousness traps do exist, you can avoid them. In some cases, you may even be a part of the gridwork teams asked to dismantle them to stop other souls from being trapped inside them. To mind control the consciousness of the masses and control their perception is how slaves and drones are created. Humanity is cultivated to shape values and ideas that the controllers have cast through the lens of the predator mind. Until the individual can identify and sense the predator mind construct, they are engaged with that lower mind in what has been created in deception and illusion to trap the individual into feeding into the collective consciousness program. Tyrants, dictators, and despots through the ages have withheld information and even erase historical facts to retain power and control over who they seek to exert their role. So the goal of the archonic controller is to keep the accurate history, knowledge, and information erased and hidden, to deprive the right of liberty and freedom for every individual. By doing so, they remove the ability for people to have the conscious choice to discern their personal energy and to dedicate where they ultimately want to place their consciousness energy. Good stuff. All right. So we're going to take a pause on the reading, and we're now going to go ahead and check out a video of a different perspective from somebody else talking about entity attachments and the things to look for when it comes to these kind of energies.
In addition to being in our auric field, many entities will create an energetic cord between themselves and one of our chakras. The word chakra is a Sanskrit word that translates as wheel or disc. Chakras are said to be energy centers or vortexes we use to send, receive, and assimilate energy from the world around us. Like the auric field, they are part of our subtle body. There are 7 major chakras located along the spine. They start at the base of the spine and travel up the body to the top of the head. Each chakra processes a different type of information. They include the first chakra, survival, our ability to take care of our bodies, i.e. food, shelter, houses our fears and insecurities. Physical, how the physical body interfaces with the world. Health, our current level of health. Second chakra, clairsentience, our ability to feel energy. Desires, our ability to recognize our needs, including our sexual needs. Creativity, our ability to create for ourselves. Third chakra, willpower, our personal power, willpower, drive, motivation. Passion, our ability to have passion in our lives. Out-of-body experience, our ability to dream, astral travel. Fourth chakra, self-love, our ability to love ourselves unconditionally. Affinity, our ability to love others unconditionally. Fifth chakra, clairaudience, our ability to hear others, i.e. our spirit guides. Inner voice, our ability to listen to our own spiritual information. Telepathy, our ability to communicate with others without speaking. Sixth chakra, inner vision, our ability to see mental image pictures. Clairvoyance, our ability to see and interpret psychic information. Seventh chakra, knowingness, our ability to just know. Transmediumship body, our ability to leave the body. Transmediumship being, our ability to allow another being into our body. Cords are energy channels that connect one point to another. They can be compared to a wormhole that cuts through the fabric of time and space. A more rudimentary way of thinking about cords is to picture them as a string that travels between 2 tin cans and allows you to talk to your friend. Cords allow energy and information to be transmitted between 2 people. They keep the lines of nonverbal communication open between friends, lovers, and even our enemies. I have never met anyone who did not have at least a few cords attached to them. A classic example of a cord in action is in the instance of a new mom. The infant, dependent on his mother for survival, will often create a cord between its first chakra, its survival center, and its mother's. When the child is in need, such as when he or she is hungry or has a soiled diaper, it will send a message to its mother via this cord. This connection can be so strong it can waken its mother out of a deep sleep. Communication cords can also be created between an entity and ourselves. In most instances, the entity will attach to one of the upper 3 chakras of the body, that is, either the 5th, 6th, or 7th chakra. The 5th chakra is responsible for our communication space. Through it, we receive information non-verbally and on audio channels. The 6th chakra holds our inner vision and our visual space. It is also responsible for how we see the world and where we form our reality and belief systems. The 7th chakra supports our ability to receive inspiration and divine guidance. When a cord is formed between an entity and one or more of these centers, the entity has a direct connection into our being. The clarity by which we experience the entity's lies and distorted truths reinforce our belief in their reality. We see the world through their unrealistic view of it, and we assume it's true. Jason. My son CJ, a number of years ago, had a close friendship with a young man named Jason. I believe Jason was having a negative influence on CJ's behavior. Jason also befriended one of my girlfriend's sons. Tara did not like the influence and control this young man exerted on her son either. It was our observation that whenever our sons spent time with Jason, they would return home acting mean, aggressive, self-righteous, and arrogant. Now granted, they were both teenagers, but we both could see a noticeable change in them whenever this young man was around. My friend and I are both psychics. We decided to take a look at Jason's energy. We wanted to evaluate his motives and rationales. We were interested in finding out how and why he influenced our children so greatly. It was not long into our reading of Jason's energy field that we both detected the presence of an attached entity. These entities would not only prompt his misbehavior, they would also court the boys, or perhaps more correctly stated, enlist Jason into courting the boys. This would, on an unconscious level, control them, their thoughts, and their emotional state. One day we decided to do a joint intervention with our sons. Trying to remain calm so that our encounter would not turn into a shouting match, we began our discussion from an educational perspective. Both boys were brought up around metaphysical and New Age topics. We knew that they would have at least some understanding of what we were talking about. Nevertheless, for the sake of clarity, we started at the beginning. "Do you know what entities are?" we asked. To which they both replied they did. We had them explain what their definition of what an entity was, especially an attached entity. Their reply was perfect and fully to our satisfaction. We then shared with them our belief that Jason was affected by a number of entities attached to him. We also let them know that his entities were influencing their behavior for the worse. Before we had a chance to continue, CJ jumped into the conversation. He let us know that he was aware of his friend's entities. In fact, according to CJ, Jason had 3 entities attached to him. To our surprise, he was able to rattle off their names. He also let us know that Jason was well aware of his entities. Apparently, he worked with them and communicated with them on a conscious level. This scared Tara and me. It is bad enough being unconsciously controlled by an entity. To befriend it and allow it to guide you into mischief, that is really bad. What they did not know was communication cords had been created between the entities and themselves. The cords were plugged into various parts of their bodies and chakras. They also didn't consider that maybe, just maybe, the negative, really funking attitude they were walking around with was not actually theirs. We told them that we believed that unless they became free and clear of Jason's influence, they were going to end up getting into trouble. Trouble was not a place we wanted to go. They agreed. We then taught the boys how to remove the cords from their bodies in subtle energy space. I think they were both relieved when they were able to feel themselves in their bodies without the influence of their friend. I know that when I looked at them after the healing session, they both look a bit spent, but peaceful.
All right. So that is just one great example of just real life scenarios here on this human life where there has been entity attachments and they were sensed, and they also saw the type of effects that it had on this individual and how they needed to remove them. Very fascinating. You know, a lot of times it can be very easy for us to blame, shame, hate, get mad at individuals on the human level. But sometimes there's things that we can't even see with our physical eyes that are attached and also helping, manipulate the circumstances that we are feeling in our nervous system, within our mental patterns, our emotional state, as well as our physical well-being. So that's why compassion is so big in this human journey, is because the more we become aware of these things, the more we can develop compassion to know that it's not 100% just someone doing something bad to us or something negative, but they could have negative energy in their field that hasn't been healed or addressed, which then creates entities and demonic forces that are then possessing and manipulating even further. So that's where compassion really comes in. So we're going to read a little bit more, and we're going to read about archonic genetically engineered entities. All right. So archonic genetic engineered entities. These are also known as SPE, which is suppressor parasite entities. They are genetically artificial drones or archons sent by higher ups in the negative agenda. Those entities that source for imposter spirit, and they are a type of militarized AI to dominate and possess consciousness through mind control and thought projection. This is militarized psychotronic warfare technology that is primarily sourced from Orion Group's consortium of the Black Sun program. They are mind and body parasites that can be individual or in clusters that attach to the bioneurological system and are a mind control technological warfare. It has been observed that after a sequence of deeper layers of infection in the light body, the SPE will harvest genetic material out of the human DNA host to form a type of cyborg. We believe this is a part of the transhumanist agenda to create cyborgs in the human population through AI, to be used for a variety of purposes on Earth, such as slave labor, sexual slavery, and food source, as well as be taken to other planets by the negative agenda. It appears that through insertion of holographic images with the intention to control the individual's consciousness, the SPE is also creating astral delusions that the person believes is real, becomes addicted and attached on the astral plane, thus acting as consciousness traps. So I just watched The Matrix yesterday with my partner, and The Matrix shows a lot of this right here. They show the giant AI jellyfish beings. They show the parasitic entities that they put inside of Neo in the beginning, inside of his body. And then Trinity has to take the parasitic entity out of Neo when they find him in the vehicle. So it's very interesting how they show all this stuff. They show the astral plane, they show, the matrices and all that. So the SPEs are aggressive artificial intelligence jellyfish parasites that invade the central nervous system to monitor a person's thought patterns so that they can mimic them. They monitor through patterns and emotional behaviors and search for weaknesses within the human host body so they can aggressively use that weakness against the person to plummet them into a very low frequency thoughts of the predator mind. See the houses of ego. When a person has weak spiritual energetic development, weak moral character, along with a weak mind, this makes it much easier for the AI parasite to control the human being and prepare the body for dark force or imposter spirit possession. The way to dismantle and deactivate artificial intelligence and nanotechnology, alien implants, is to develop your heart center and spiritual human qualities, such increasing deep emotional feelings of loving kindness, compassion, and empathy. So the SPE is one of the main sources of voice recognition mind control that is implanted most commonly through the gallbladder meridian. It is a parasite, so its life cycle and how it burrows into the bodily matrices is exactly like a physical parasite. Understanding how alien implants and SPEs function is to understand parasites. Your goal is to purge and detoxify parasites in every way you can from the body. A very important thing is to understand that parasites physically in the body create disease, energy blocks, and increase the body's vulnerability to mind control technologies. This is what archons want, to weaken our bodies with parasites to be supervenient to the control. This is why the medical system will not will not apply live blood microscopic analyst frequency testing or acknowledge pleomorphic change of microorganisms inside the human body as responsible for disease. If this became medically acceptable, it would reveal parasites and toxicity as the cause for all disease, and we would eradicate the need for synthetic drugs and medical barbarism. Energetic parasites are source of physical parasites and pathogenic microorganisms. The more alien implants we have, the more energetic parasitisms happening in our life force and vital body essences. If we are covered with infection and parasites, we are living in a rate of decay, which greatly impacts the quality of our bodily function, to which we are not made aware. Wow. So I'll read one more and then we'll watch our closing videos, and that will be it for the episode. So we have the SPE implant tentacles. It even shows you where they go and how they form throughout the body after implanted. So most commonly, these will be located and palpated more on the temporal areas of the skull, either left or the right side of the cranium above the ears. When palpated for, they may throb or pulsate when being physically observed. Most generally appear in etheric vision as crabgrass, shadow-looking spiders, or as an octopus jellyfish with tentacles. They become more pronounced when they are being energetically fed by mind control thoughts that the unaware person is looping within their mental body. When SPEs are fed via the subject's mind looping and obsessive thoughts, they will replicate themselves into pods that look like seeds. These pods will form longer tentacles that attach themselves throughout the spinal cord and the spinal nerves in advanced stages. They first appear to cleave onto portions of the energy body that have etheric or nodal damage in the light body from unhealed trauma. These will also be felt as physical body blockages or physical pain by the subject. The primary function of SPE appears to generate thought forms that are replicated by the person's own cloned genetic material, so that the person believes these artificially produced thoughts are on their own making. This is to trick the person to believe that they are hearing is their own inner voice when it is not. Many times the storage of the brain that translates voice recognition languages will be compromised. This area is the Wernicke's area of the brain. Emotional clearing, possible emotional freedom technique, EFT, will help clear and release this pattern in the meridians. It is known SPEs are vibrationally sent through frequency, thought control carrier waves into the meridian systems to run codes to the neurological system, which materializes in the person's thought as frequency substance when they are gripped in mind control. They are first lodged into the gallbladder meridian, runs into all 44 points, which starts at the top of the ear on either side of the cranium. The gallbladder meridian relates to the fourth dimension and is the only meridian in the body that has interface, which allows a point in and out of the astral dimension that goes directly into the cellular matrix of the physical body itself. The purpose is to infiltrate the physical body to be controlled and to slowly take over the nodal and central nervous system, therefore the subject's brain. Wow. So this is how we kind of cleanse and remove. It says the AIM and HGS sessions are working to assist with the frequency dissolution of these painful SPE implants, as to help remove them as pain-free from the human body as possible. Removing these is the most efficient and easy way possible, is still in a state of exploration. However, it is abundantly clear the subject must be 100% in agreement to remove them, aware of them, and not in resistance of their personal, emotional, or mental body responsibility. Person must be willing to control and change their thought patterns and reclaim their brain, nervous system, and consciousness in the law of consent. Once the SBE is removed, emotional dross and holographic inserts is removed from the body, and staying psycho-emotionally centered renders the person immune to them and repels repeated infection. Adherence to the practice of the law of one, developing virtues and ethics, is key to heal oneself from this insidious infection. There is, in some cases of observing a relationship, a fourth dimensional SPE astral infection, 7D crucifixion implants. In the case of LR, the SRE net was removed in conjunction, and left side crucifixion implants removals. So that's where I'll leave for now. There's a lot more on this page that you guys can read and check out. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. AscensionGlossary.com. Check it out anytime. It is down below in the description for you guys as a resource to check out. So then I also want to let you guys know that there are many different ascended archangels, and the different holistic and shamanic practices that you can use to help clear out trauma, deeper compassion through balancing the chakras, as well as doing affirmations and other valid practices that are available in your everyday life. So the violet flame is a really good one to work with. The violet flame will help you transmute your energy field and alchemize anything that's in it, as well as the blue ray, which will bring balance, justice, and truth. The pink ray can bring softening and compassion. Then you can work with different angels and guides with each of these as well. You can just research. You can look back in my series and you can check it out, what all you can work with. If you just go into my Grand Rising with ChristoLight series, hit playlist on the YouTube channel, Sacred Light Broadcast Network, there's a lot that I've already gone over to help you with knowing how to clear out these inverted and parasitic energies. So let's go ahead and watch another video, and then we will close out with a beautiful Reiki share to help remove curses and negative energy.
If you believe that you have a negative entity attachment, whether you've identified the symptoms yourself or you just know that you have one, then you've likely been taking an approach that will actually make things worse. So in this video, let's establish what those are and create new habits that will help you release your entities for good. There are three major ones that absolutely everybody does, especially at the beginning. And it's okay because you're trying to figure out what's happening with you. But if you're continuing to ask yourself these questions, all you're doing is you're feeding energy to the entity or to the situation that you find yourself in. So those three things are, number one, you try to figure out what type of entity you have. Number two, you try to figure out how you got it in the first place. And number three, you might be asking, why me? All three of these things are very similar in that you are using your 3D mind to try to solve a spiritual problem. Guess what? It doesn't work very well. And in most cases, when you keep asking yourself these questions over and over and over again, all you're doing is you're giving all of your energy to that negative entity attachment in the first place. Another mistake that almost everybody makes is we focus too much on all the problems and how we just want it all to go back to normal. I want to be the way that I was before. I don't want to have to deal with these voices in my head or not being able to sleep at night or not being able to have whatever this symptom was. I just want my life to go back to normal. This is actually a problem because it feeds into the victim mindset. And the solution to removing your negative entity and eradicating your negative symptoms is actually to embrace a new version of yourself. The old one was the one that attracted the negative entity in the first place. So don't focus on going back to the way things used to be. Instead, focus on the new version of yourself that this entity situation has actually created for you. When you embrace the excitement over the new you, the understanding that the only way that you're really going to be able to overcome this is if you essentially reinvent yourself, then now you can be focused purely on that reinvention. The other problem that everybody makes is that they go online and they discover, oh, I'm supposed to sage, or I'm supposed to put salt on the windows, or all these other wife tale sorts of solutions to negative entity attachments. Those things are very antiquated, and I'm sure you've already discovered that they don't work. Even using crystals to try to ward off entities. It's one of those things that a lot of people adhere to and suggest to others. And it usually doesn't work. And it doesn't work because you are the powerful one, not the salt, not the crystal, not the sage. It's all about you. And that's the other thing. People focus a lot on the entity itself rather than on them. It's all about you. It's not at all about the entity. It could just be the random entity that happened to come into you in that moment because you have issues that need to be resolved. You have childhood traumas that need to be released. You have blockages. You don't believe that you can actually step into your power. Any of these and all of these things contribute to that negative entity situation in the first place. And the major mistake that almost everybody seems to make, and really who can blame them because that's the way that our 3D society is set up, is to go to a healer to have them remove your entity for you. This works in that 3D place. You go to a doctor and you get a pill, you go to a doctor and you get a surgery, and they remove your problem for you. This is not a problem like that. This is a spiritual energy, emotional, mental problem that you get to work on, you get to resolve yourself, and that's the way that you will actually be entity free for the rest of your life. So in order to do that, there's a lot of work ahead of you. And instead of being daunted by that, being worried by that, be excited by that. Be motivated by that. And if you need help, let me know, because that's exactly what I do. This week's energy healing session is a negative entity clearing, and you can find that right here on YouTube. And as I explained in the energy healing, it's important for you to remember that this clearing will help you identify how difficult your entity is going to be to remove permanently, and it may give you at least some temporary relief. Either way, I hope that it helps, and I want to thank you so much for watching this video, for participating in the energy healing and all the other energy healings that I have on this channel. And I look forward to seeing your comments about what you've been dealing with. What have you been going through with your negative entity situation? I'd be happy to give you some thoughts and some advice in the comments section. I love you unconditionally. And I'll see you in the next video.
Thank you to Zane. That was excellent. What a beautiful presentation and great clarity on how to clear and release attachments and entities. So awesome. So with that being said, let's go ahead and close this out. And you guys enjoy this beautiful Reiki. It's about 7 minutes long. And this is how we're going to close on and with a Reiki session to help clear out anything that could be attached or causing negative density in our field. So with that, I thank you all for joining me in this episode, Grand Rising with ChristoLight. I am your host, ChristoLight Robbins of Sacred Light. I do have a New Year's retreat here in Western Pennsylvania. If you guys are interested, it'll be from New Year's Eve until the 2nd. Holistic, plant-based vegetarian meals, and a lot of beautiful, beautiful things happening on this New Year's retreat. If you guys have questions, reach out. If you guys want to book one-on-one healing sessions, if you would like to do cord clearing, entity removal, Reiki, shadow work integration with myself, let me know. I help with inner child healing as well as subconscious reprogramming. With that, see you guys next Tuesday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Enjoy this Reiki.